After bariatric surgery, you have to, for the rest of your life, take a special bariatric multivitamin and calcium chewables twice a day. Vitamins once a day, calcium chewables twice a day. So when you go through the whole process, they give you a little bag of samples of different flavors. And I found this one. This is lemon cream, and it's quite delicious. So I take one of these in the morning and one of these in the evening. And I take my vitamins in the middle. So I've been trying to sample different flavors. I just got my new delivery in the mail today. Chocolate, cafe mocha, and caramel calcium chews. If any of you are in the medical profession, can you overdose on these? I'm asking for a friend. Hey Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and this is my Bookish Week for January 21st, 2024. Right off the top of my head. The only reason I know the date is because my husband and I were going over bills and finances and everything, and I looked at that calendar about 40 times, and it stuck. So yeah, I have a lot to talk about today. I actually wrote notes, which I never do, but I did have so much I wanted to talk about that I had to write everything down. And of course, while I was writing, I came up with a few more video ideas for future. So how about we talk about what I finished first? I read 2 books and 1 short story last week. The first book I finished was because of FOMO, and this was on Kindle for $1.99, $2.99, I don't remember, but I had put it on a community post on my channel. And it is Northwoods by Daniel Mason. I wasn't aware of the format of the book before I bought it. And it had been getting so much buzz. It had been on people's best reads of the year already. People have loved it. And because it was such a great deal for my Kindle, I decided to pick it up, and I read it, and it was not a Kim book. This is the story of a house in the woods of Massachusetts. It starts off in the 1600s in Puritan, Massachusetts, of a young couple who are in love, who escape their tyrannical Puritan church community and family. And they end up building this remote shack/cabin in the woods. The entire book is filled with the history of the house and how it changes over centuries, who ends up living there, and how the house comes down from one generation to the next. Hold on, I gotta take a drink of water because my throat's a little scratchy. Okay, so it continues with how the house passes down from one person to the next and from one family to the next, and the events that precipitate those hand-me-downs of this property. It talks about the history of what happened on the land and on the property and in the house. It talks about the different people and personalities who live there, where they came from, what type of people they were, and on and on. So it starts off in the 1600s and it ends off in somewhat modern day. There's a lot in here. There's a lot of different perspectives from one chapter to the next. There's a lot of different types of writing from one chapter to the next. There is a lot of character switch and time switch, and a little bit of formatting change throughout the book. The book read like interconnected short stories, but you wouldn't read the connections, you wouldn't understand the connections had you not read the book from beginning to end. And because I am not that big of a short story fan, this was not a complete success for me. It was well written, very well written. I was not moved that much by the language, by the writing. I did not like how quickly the tone of each character changed, because you could definitely tell a delineation in personality. And because one of the reasons I don't love short stories is I want to get immersed into a long story. I want to get to know the characters, for good or for bad. And so there's a lot of other elements to the book. Some of the inhabitants may or may not be human. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, so that's Northwoods. And I fulfilled, I fed my FOMO appetite, and it's okay. I'm okay, but I didn't love the book. So I know I've seen other booktubers who have raved about it, which is great. And if you're watching the channel and you've read it, let me know what you think, because I don't want to sway anybody from not reading it. This is going to appeal to so many different readers. So I would encourage you to pick it up if you're planning to do it. The next book I finished, ironically, is a short story collection, and I had this because I love this author. And this is Not Miami by Fernanda Melchor. She is a Mexican author. This is translated from Spanish by Sophie Hughes, who also translated Hurricane Season, which I thought was brilliant. This is a slim short story collection set in primarily Veracruz, Mexico. Veracruz is not really close to Miami. It is on the southeast section of Mexico. And there's the self-titled story, This Is Not Miami, in the book. And it kind of talks about why it's called this. So I love Melchor's writing. So I loved the writing. But again, it's short stories. And most of the stories have pretty much the same theme. And it's talking about the cultural atmosphere, political atmosphere, the violent atmosphere, drug lords, drug crimes, shootings, mass killings in Mexico. So there was not a lot of delineation between stories. There were some, obviously, characters were different and some of the events were different, but most of the themes were the same. So it kind of ran together for me. Still, her writing, I have another book of hers that I'm planning on reading, and I did really love that. She is a journalist, and the majority of these stories are narrative journalism. So these are all based on true events, true stories that she created into fictional narratives. So really powerful stuff. If you have a strong stomach, I would highly recommend Hurricane Season. So if you're a short story lover, you might love these. So yeah, another decent read. And ironically, I said that word twice in this video. The last thing I finished was a short story. It's Toni Morrison's only short story, Recitative. And this comes with a really interesting introduction by Zadie Smith. This was okay. This was not your typical Toni Morrison novel. And it was not her typical poetic, lyrical, masterful writing. The whole point of the story is to talk about a theme and a topic, not to showcase her writing. This is about two young girls, Twyla and Roberta, who were both dropped off at an orphanage by their mothers, and they're voluntarily surrendered there. What makes this story important and original is that you don't know which girl is white and which girl is black. And Toni Morrison specifically wrote this so the reader would constantly try to figure out, based on descriptions in the story, who is black and who is white. And it works on our stereotyping. So along the way, you're reading the story and you realize this girl said that must make her white. Or this is her name, that must make her black. Or this is how her mother is acting, that must make her white. Or this is what she's eating or not eating, that must make her black. And as a reader, you catch yourself trying to solve the mystery. And that is the point of the story. There is no answer to it. There is no conclusion at the end that tells you which of the girls was white or black. So that was really interesting. And Zadie Smith wrote this essay as an introduction that kind of points to that, talks about it, brings out those salient points, and is really interesting. So her only short story she ever wrote, and very quick read, very interesting topic, a brilliant topic to talk about. Didn't love the story. So I suppose my entire week was filled with okay reads, you know. Northwoods, I think out of the three things I finished, was probably the most satisfying. So if you've got that in your queue, pick it up. Okay, I had one DNF. I DNF'd the Disenchanted Widow by Christina McKenna. She's an Irish author. I read The Misremembered Man, which I really loved. The reason I DNF'd this one is this is set in the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and this woman's husband was kind of a thug with a IRA. I believe it was an IRA organization. He was kind of a stupid, moronic criminal who wanted to steal the money who he was stealing for his boss. He was killed early on in a car accident, completely unrelated to the crime. And the boss figures he wants his money, and his wife has taken the money and hidden it and left town. So I got about a quarter of the way through the book, and this was just not hitting me right. I didn't want to read another book set in that era, set in that context and those themes. I wasn't interested, and I actually thought it was going to be something a little bit different, so it didn't work for me. But I had a couple of other comments on my last vlog post, at least one or two other comments that said they really enjoyed this book. It's very funny. She's an incredibly humorous author, but this one just didn't work for me, so I DNF'd that one. All right, what do I got on my notes? What am I currently reading? Let me tell you what I'm currently reading. I picked up George Eliot, a biography by George Haight, from my nonfiction selection up here, up there. I don't think you can see. There's another shelf. This is one of the nonfiction books I wanted to read this year in 2024. So I picked it up and I have started reading it. I'm loving it. I did start reading it a while back and put it down, knowing I really was gonna read it, but now I'm really loving it. This one, When I Sing, Mountains Dance by Irene Sola, a novel. This is translated from the Catalan by Mara Fay Letham. Sola is a Catalan author. This book, man, this is something else. It's translated fiction. This is published by Grey Wolf Press. And going forward, I am going to tell you when I'm reading a book published by an independent publisher, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this book, it is lyrical, poetic. Sola is a poet. It is wild. It is mythical. Really looking forward to getting back into this one. And I am reading The Virgin in the Garden by A.S. Byatt. I am reading this as a buddy read with Judy. Now, I started reading this copy. This is the Penguin copy, originally published in 1978. And this one is a fairly thin book, but look at the print. It's really tightly packed on the page. The font is small. It's kind of like that dark, heavy font. And I really was not enjoying myself. Well, I was enjoying the writing, but the reading experience was less than desired. And I didn't really like that picture. So I ended up finding a different used copy, this one, of this picture, which I love. And this one is a lot chunkier. And the font is way bigger. There's a lot more space on the page. This reading experience is so different than reading this one, which is really interesting. And I've talked about this before. When I read a physical book, the format is important to me, whether it's the picture art or the length or the font especially. And this length, this thickness of a book, this is 566 pages. This is kind of my sweet spot when it comes to a novel. I love novels of this length, this heft. I don't know if it's because I think I'm getting my money's worth or it just feels good to hold. And it really does. I love that. And this one, I'm really enjoying my reading experience. And it's a fantastic book. But you didn't hear that from me because I'm not wrapping it up yet. Now, what else do I want to talk about? Okay. The book that I was talking about, there's two books that finished one I'm reading that are published by independent presses. When I Sing Mountains Dance is published by Grey Wolf. This Is Not Miami is published by a New Directions paper book original. Paper book original. So I want to announce when I'm reading a book published by an independent press. And because I have been inspired. If you have not watched Sarah's channel at Eyes on Indie, then you are desperately missing out. I urge you to go and look at her channel. I am linking it down below, and I will put a picture here. She I think, almost completely highlights and showcases books published by independent presses on her channel. She also puts out a newsletter of all new releases coming out from independent publishers. After I watched her last video, where she had her monkey assistant picking out her next reads, she just inspired me. And not only did I sign up for her newsletter, but I found at least 10 independent publishers whose newsletters I also signed up for. And then I looked around my bookshelves and I realized all of the books, I kind of pinpointed the books that I have that have been published by independent presses, including translated fiction. So I am making a concerted effort going forward to read those books in a heavy way. And I am just so excited and I am enjoying it so much. This is the perfect example of a book that is so original and published by Grey Wolf that I'm loving life. I'm loving my reading life right now. And thank you, Sarah. Go and find Sarah's channel, click on the link, watch her, take a look at independent publishers' websites. They all have newsletters. Sign up. I think that's, oh, gosh, I have so much else to talk about. I've watched so many videos lately of booktubers saying the same thing that I've been saying. We want to slow down. We want to change how we're reading in the new year. I was feeling so burned out. Just the quantity of books I was reading, the pace, the reason why I was reading books. And at the end of last year, I said that I've had enough. I'm completely reinventing my reading. And so far, that's what I've been doing. I've slowed down. I am picking up books that I really, really am excited about. I am not entering into too many bookish obligations. I have some buddy reads set up that I just am very excited about, but not too many. I'm not doing a lot of reading programs. I have a couple of events that I'm involved in that I am wicked excited about, but I am trying to be very discriminating about things I sign up for, things I commit to, the type of reading I do, why I read certain books, and how fast. And I am so happy. And I didn't keep track of how many other booktubers I have seen say this lately. And I knew it's not just me. It's not just me. We're all feeling it. So I have just been loving it. I have bought some new books, but I've not gone crazy, and I will show you them when they come in. I bought them online. Some of them are so unique and original, and I'm not buying a lot of new releases. I'm not a big follower of new releases anyway. You know, I do get FOMO. I do read certain things, but going forward, my reading is primarily going to be independent or backlist, that type of thing. So I am just, I was loving watching all these videos. So take a look go on BookTube and try to look up, new reading goals or slowing down your reading, that type of thing. The quantity is not important. The number is not important. I do not set number goals anymore. I used to, hated it. So I don't do it anymore. I'm almost done. Okay. I've seen innumerable videos from new booktubers doing the booktube newbie tag. At the first of the year, all of a sudden, there is this giant pool of brand new booktubers, and it is fantastic. And I wanted to tell you about 4 that I've subscribed to that I think you should too, and they're lovely. The first one is Angela Walton. She is an Australian booktuber, and she just put out her first couple of videos lovely to listen to. I loved listening to the types of books she reads and looking at her bookshelves. She will bring us so much Australian fiction. So her link is down below. Please check her out. This one is not a new booktuber, but she came back after a 5-year absence. It's Hannah Greendale, and her channel is Hello Bookworm. Hannah's been all over BookTube, all over Goodreads. I see her reviews on so many different books, and she is back on BookTube. And I was so happy to have discovered her. A few of these booktubers I discovered from other booktubers putting their links on community posts. So I'm going to link them down below. Follow the links, check them out. They are wonderful. The next one is Reading with One Mundane Man. His name is Mike. Oh, just lovely to listen to and listen to him introduce himself. He was looking for tips from other booktubers about how they booktube. I've used that as a verb before. And, you know, how long it took you to get comfortable talking to a camera instead of an actual person, and just wonderful to watch his BookTube newbie tag, so go and check him out. And the last one, I mean, one of the best titles of a channel I have ever seen, The Unhinged Woman Book Club. This is Lisa, and I'm already jealous of her, I'll tell you why, but she's fantastic. And she got dumped, so she started a BookTube channel. And she's talking about books and what she's reading. She's also a triathlon athlete. And she's an artist. She showed some of her art on her channel. Loved it. Lovely, wonderful artwork. Go and check her out. I'm a little jealous of her because she hasn't been on BookTube long. And she already has over 900 subscribers. What? It took me forever to get that. So no, I'm not jealous. I'm so thrilled for her. She is a wonderful booktuber. I really hope all 4 of these lovely people continue for a really long time. So follow the links down below and follow them. One last thing. Thank you to Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading. Her link is down below as well. She had encouraged me a while back to open a Ko-fi account or a coffee account. And I finally did. Why did I do this? Because I noticed I had a few commenters who told me they would love to find a way to support my channel. And I had a few people ask me if I would ever start a Patreon. No, I'm not really interested in starting a Patreon. I make the amount of content that is comfortable for me, and I would not be able to offer anything more in a Patreon unless it was a book club that I just don't have the bandwidth for. But I do have a Ko-fi account set up. And what that basically is just a way for you to buy me a coffee or send me a tip or send me a little financial support. It's totally voluntary. There's no obligation. There's not a lot there. You don't buy into a subscription. You don't get extra content. You don't unlock some hidden secrets, nothing like that. It's simply you supporting me as a booktuber. And eventually, one day, I am going to open a Ko-fi bookshop. I'm going to be selling some books on there. I'm going to have to figure that out. I'll let you know when it's coming up, when it's live. But this is just me kind of warning you it's coming someday down the road. So that I wanted to use it to open a shop as well. So the link will be, all the links are going to be down below. All the links for everything are going to be down below. Thank you so much for anybody that already asked me about that. Thank you already to everybody for your continued encouragement and support. For everybody that wished me to get well soon. I'm feeling better, throat's still scratchy. I might go and overeat some of those calcium chews because they're very tasty. But yeah, so thank you all so much. Let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books I talked about. Follow those links for the new booktubers I talked to you about, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.